Ever wonder what it was like to live in a world just tipping into modernity? Let's take a trip back in time to the year 1900, a fascinating turning point in American history. It was a time of incredible contrast, where the familiar ways of the past collided head-on with the electrifying promise of the future. Imagine stepping onto a city street back then. The clip-clop of horse-drawn carriages is still the main soundtrack of daily life. In fact, there were over 100,000 horses in New York City alone, creating what was called the Great Horse Manure Crisis. But if you listen closely, you might also hear the rumble of a new invention, the automobile. In 1900, only about 8,000 cars were registered in the entire country. They were expensive toys for the rich, often breaking down and scaring the horses. Nobody could have predicted they would completely reshape our cities and our lives. Life at home was also on the cusp of a revolution. For the average American family, daily chores were physically demanding. Without widespread electricity, there were no refrigerators, washing machines, or vacuum cleaners. Light came from gas lamps or kerosene lanterns, and keeping the home warm meant constantly tending to a coal or wood stove. Communication was slow. A letter could take days or weeks to cross the country. The telephone existed, but it was a luxury few could afford. But change was in the air, and it was happening fast. This was the dawn of the age of steel and electricity. Skyscrapers, a marvel of engineering, began to pierce the sky, forever changing the urban landscape. Electric streetlights started to replace gas lamps, making city nights safer and more vibrant. Factories were humming with new machinery, drawing millions of people from rural farms to urban centers in search of work and a new kind of life. This massive wave of migration, both from within the country and from overseas, created the bustling, diverse cities we recognize today. The year 1900 also sparked new ideas about how society should work. It was the heart of the progressive era, a time when people began to demand better working conditions, safer food, and a more responsive government. Think about it. Before 1900, there were very few regulations protecting consumers or workers. The fight for women's suffrage was gaining momentum, and activists were challenging the status quo, laying the groundwork for many of the social and political rights we now take for granted. So 1900 wasn't just another year. It was a bridge between two worlds. It was the moment when the groundwork for our modern life, our technology, our cities, our social values was laid. The people of that era stood with one foot in the agrarian past and the other stepping into the industrial future. By looking back, we can better appreciate how far we've come and the incredible pace of change that has defined the last century. Thanks for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more dives into history. See you next time.